This is the revised BMW X7. Can it be the king of luxury SUVs with all they've done to this SUV right now? Let's find out with Thomas on Autogefühl. Let's go! With the new generation of the BMW 7 Series, including the electric i7, BMW said we can't leave the X7 as it is because there would be a higher gap between these two vehicles, because this is also still supposed to be the top of luxury, but then on the SUV side. And this one here is even, meanwhile, the more important luxury car to BMW if you compare it to the 7 Series. And so it got the 7 Series look here with the very slim daytime running lights on the top and the split to the normal headlamps right here. The kidney here is wider, bigger, and also has the illumination effect when you close or open the vehicle, and also while the main headlamp is running, even while driving, it is illuminated. Very interesting. You can especially see that right here between the fins. So a very, very big presence on the road this one has here now. And by the way, this very interesting color here is called Blue Ridge Mountain. Well, is there also a color called West Virginia? The length at 5.16 meters or 203 inches. Wheels, these ones are 22-inch wheels, but they're new 23-inch wheels available now. First time from Works at BMW at this sparkling copper tone. A very interesting one. It looks more like a grayish bluish tone, but then there are like these copper particles on the inside, and in this case 23-inch wheels. We also have another white vehicle for you here to show you also the extended shadow line, where then the kidney is in black for a more sinister look. But you don't have to go for it. You can also stay with the more base classic look with more chrome accentuations and so on, and this really upright styling. Air suspension is standard. Both axles, and option you can also get a rear axle steering, so-called integral active steering, and also an anti-tilt control is available that comes together in a package. In the rear, I think design-wise it falls a little bit off if you compare it to the X5 or the X6, but here with this more upright form you gain space on the inside. With the facelift you can see here new three-dimensional tail lamp design with a lot of different nice accentuations, so a lot of attention to detail, and also this chrome strip here is behind glass to let it appear a little bit more subtle. What about the rear and the down here? Autogefühl fake exhaust police alert, because yeah, rear exhaust on the inside and the fake tips around. It still looks beautiful, yeah, but that's what the Autogefühl fake exhaust police is for. Well, and if you need a change in weather, in style and color, then you can also go for the M60 with the 4.4 liter V8 under the hood, here in a very sporty and more aggressive style. The frozen gray color looks beautiful, especially here with the raindrops now on the hood. And then we have also the black frame around, and here the extended shadow line also with the black, all the way black kidney here looks really impressive. Is it maybe too much? Me personally, I would rather prefer to stick with the more elegant styling of the X7, but what about you? Tell me, rather this sportier look or the more elegant styling for the X7? But this, yeah, does look impressive. And you could, for example, also combine the frozen gray color with the normal chrome features and so on. Long-term subscribers know that we rate every single vehicle in the very same fair way, no matter where it's from, which brand or where it is built. Well, some people say like, because I live in Germany, yeah, always when you review German cars, you are pro-German cars, you have a German bias and so on. And well, this is BMW, but this X7 is getting built right here in the Spartanburg plant in South Carolina. So if I would say something positive about this car, would it then be an American bias? Let's move on to the interior. This is the basic car key. It's also totally enough. You don't need this computer car key. Then here, door closing sound. Really nice, very solid. And here also the panel gaps. So yeah, also when German cars are getting built in the US, they have good build quality. And here at the inside of doors, everything wrapped tightly And this is a very nice material mix here also with the dark wood, more classic style, Bowers & Wilkins optional sound system. This is the base steering wheel. There's also the M Sport available, but I do prefer this one. Look at that, this matte aluminum look at the buttons, and it also has a more symmetric form. I really like this one. And now, big interior news. Look at this. So the high-grade leatherette center deck has evolved into a new name called Sensor Fin. So for a more, let's say, finer look, and indeed it is finer as for the perforation and the structure. Look at that, especially here. And it is also softer from the surface, especially here in this area. Super soft and comfortable, and I can tell you, especially this area here in this 3-split is really good for your back. And the thing is really, when you look at this and also you feel that, and you know, also the transitions between the materials and so on, no single expert, even material expert, could really differentiate it just by looking and feeling it from the highest or most expensive animal skin leather option. This is way to go. It's a great step forward. It's the standard material for most markets. In the UK, you can get it in black, like it is here, and also in a more gray, brighter style. In the US, also in brown, dark brown, and a little lighter brown. So 4 colors for the US. In Germany and other European markets, they do not offer it in the configurator. However, they told me it is available on demand. So not the best choice for the German market, but it will be available. You just have to ask for it. In the process, less resources, materials, also less oil and so on is being used. It's more sustainable, it's better for the environment, it's more friendly to animals. It's also more longer lasting, it's more durable. It just has advantages. So at this stage, we reached a stage where you can say, you can either have the choice and pay your money for an industry that is hurting animals, people working there and the environment, or you can pay money for a material that comes from an industry that tries to be as sustainable as possible at this moment. I think now the choice is really obvious because this here is a very, very good material. And the real cool thing is here, these sensor fin perforated seats are also available here with seat cooling. Seat heating, of course, as well, heated steering wheel, but seat cooling here, that is really awesome. Seating position, upright, command driving, and these seats here are really extremely comfortable, and you can trust me, I'm not only saying it because, you know, they are more animal friendly and so on. I also said about the Audi A8, they don't have any alternatives, but the seat ergonomics are great there, for example. Here, they really have a comfort plus with it, and especially that area I've been showing to you here, this area at your back, because it somehow, you know, is really, really soft to your back, and I experienced it earlier while driving. This is really an example for that you actually feel more comfortable while sitting in the car than when you're outside. You know, that's really, really, really rarely happens, you know. So especially this lower back area here is extremely comfortable. One of the best seats I've been in so far. Headroom 189 or 6'2", plenty of left. Although we have here the panoramic roof. And you can see here in the cockpit overview, this has changed. 12.3 inch on the left side, 14.9 inch on the right side, but it has this integrated curved screen that you also see in the all-new BMW models. Here with dark wood, but also other stylings available. And here with the ambient lighting, you can even see it better in our studio episode because it was darker, really nicely done. And also while driving, I show how it adapts to the driving modes. And a little bit weird, I would say, how these vent controls here, they look interesting and somewhat stylish. Yeah, you gotta get used to this closed, this open. Yeah, I mean, why not? So what you can see over there is the visitor center with a museum in Spartanburg where these cars are getting built. And what you can see here is the head-up display with basic speed information. Or you can also change the contents here in the digital instruments, and then you can have different information in the head-up display, whatever you prefer. Digital instruments, you can change the layout. So this has the, this graphic view. You also know maybe from the BMW iX if you have seen our views from that. So you're a little bit flexible. Yeah, why not? Everything is clear to read. I rather prefer, let's say, more classics layout and not that futuristic. What about you? Here in the infotainment system, the only thing I don't like that much is that you have the climate control here in the screen. If you leave it auto AC on anyway, then it's not too big of an issue. But if you, like me, and like to turn dials in the car to be, feeling that car, how it is alive and how it's not only a machine, but somehow also, touchable, and well, then you don't like it that much here. You can see and control everything, and also good that BMW responded to our videos and your wishes that you can now turn on and off the AC function. So that is then like, the dehumidification, you make the interior less humid, with that, but you know what I mean. So that's a good option that you can also turn off when you really don't need it, and that the interior air is then a little bit more, humid actually. Don't need it here in South Carolina probably, but maybe sometimes in Germany in spring and autumn and so on. This is the main menu then here. You also have the visualization here of the vehicle itself in the very vehicle color. The OS 8, I did prefer OS 7, I always say that, because here is just too much, too much stuff, too much clutter around. Most of the time, however, you will also use the Apple CarPlay and Android Auto integration, and then it looks like this. And the fun thing is as well, when you want to have this map here, also on the left side on the instruments, it works if you go to the Apple Maps, and then actually you can also see it on the left side. Bose & Wilkins sound system here, awesome sound, love it. Let's see us back in 5 minutes. I'll just keep listening to music for now. Lower middle console here, different stylings are available. Here a more classic. Oh, wait a minute. Hey, we still have a manual volume knob. That's good to have. Didn't want to forget to mention that. So here's like this open cup holders. They can also be gotten here with this option here for heating and cooling. So that's cool. Yeah, that was obvious. Sorry, I had to go for it. And here inductive charging pad for your phone. And also here for USB-A charging. The shifting lever is now smaller in this crystalline structure. That leaves here a little bit uncluttered, and you have more space to access this. However, I also like a real shifting stick, what about you? And this is also a way to control the infotainment system without touching it. Underneath the armrest, split way USB-C charging, and you can have the cable here. This is a pretty nice one, by the way, always with different, plugs on it. I like to have that one in there. By the way, here, the panoramic roof, you have this huge shade, and then these dots inside here, they can be illuminated at night. That looks really amazing, and of course you can really open it, so you're really flexible with this panoramic roof here. Rear seating here first with a through bench, and I've put this seat in the front and the other side, the other 2/3 in the rear. There you can see you can adjust it. This is like all the way forward, and this is all the way backward for more legroom, and then you can adjust it right here. It is really astonishing, the new material here, especially once again also for the rear seats. Here this area is so soft and plush, so it's probably not only the material but also what's behind it then, that it really adds a lot more comfort to your lower back area while seating. That's really astonishing, really surprised. Positively surprised, of course. Here, legroom, there's still enough left, yes, but for the size of the vehicle, not too much. Headroom in the rear, also no problem at all, and great view to the panoramic roof. It's very comfortable here. There is also the option of the captain's seats. That is then a single seat setup, one here in the rear. That is, in a way you sit even more upright. It's cool, also very interesting for kids, for example, and of course together with child seats, or maybe for like luxury transport. So maybe you have a luxury hotel and you want to get your passengers from the airport or something like that. That works. And then they're more like the front seats. The only catch then is this completely folding flat does not work anymore. If you want to have access to the third seating row, you use this button here. So you have to hold a little bit, and the front seat goes forward. There we go. And then you can see it goes forward, and then it also really gets out of the angles right there. That's very interesting. And then you can here access the third seating row. And what I've done here now is I put this seat here in a way forward that I can still sit on the second seating row closely. And then my knees do fit behind the seat but barely, but it does work somewhat for 7-door adults, even though it gets very close here in the rear. They thought about adding ISOFIX here also to the back seats. And you also have some luxury features here in the rear, for example, your own panoramic roof. You have your own seat heating. Here once again that chrome behind the glass, and the trunk area, it's split here, that you also have this picnic function. That's always a very nice and cool thing to do. This here is the small cover for the very rear part. Suitcase and backpack fits behind it, and then you have a max passenger or a max luggage button. And that's really interesting. Actually, you know, here 1 meter or 40 inches easily in width, by the way. You can see here it folds like this, the first one, and then also the second row does fold. During that, I can show you here some more space underneath. And then the length here of the normal trunk is 45 centimeters or 17 inches. Then when you fold the third seating row flat, then you go at about 1 meters 10 or 43 inches. And overall, to these front seats, you can see it's easily 2 meters or 78 inches, even a little bit more. Here in reverse, the maximum passenger setup, like this. Then third seating row comes up first, interesting. And here we go, front seats go a little bit more forward, and then the second seating row comes up like this. Yeah, a lot of magic happening here. Takes a while, but of course very convenient then. And the interior here in our secondary vehicle, look at that. Same seat form and ergonomics, also the high-grade sensor fin leatherette. Here then in this brighter style, used to be called like oyster tone or so. This looks really amazing, brings so much more light to the interior. And they also have improved the, you know, the resistance to stains. So it used to be a huge problems in the past, also with animal skin leather, that especially the bright ones would get like, you know, blue from jeans or something. This has also been improved now. Of course, if you intend to spill a lot, then with the black it's of course a little bit better. But here, I mean, I would always go for that one and just try to take a lot of care to these bright seats then. But that looks really amazing, doesn't it? With this vehicle here, we also have the captain's seat set up in the rear, so 2, 2, 2, 6 then overall, also with these beautiful cushions here. They are really very comfortable here in microfiber. And the thing is, it just feels a little bit more fun than here in the rear. Also with these, with the armrest, you can slide forward than here. It feels even more executive. So if you intend some, you know, chauffeur use for the car, for example, or long hauls then with back passengers. And again, there's not too much front legroom. And the space is then to the front, I feel even a little bit reduced, but still it works for toy adults. It's just a little bit better than here. You have more space with your shoulders, and yeah, it's just more fun here when you have two guys in the back here, also with some additional cup holders here in the back. It feels indeed even more elaborated here, with the catch that you lose the full length then of the trunk. And well, to the third seating row here, of course, then with these armrests, it's not that easy to get to the rear. So this is then once again the catch. I mean, you can squeeze yourself through here, but it's maybe not the most elegant solution then in this case. So then there's the solution here to fold like this, then also electrically moves forward like this. Then you also have this easier access. It also goes, you know, out there in the lower part. So it's a huge opening then to the rear. So this is then in this case the better solution. And when you press the max luggage option, then there you can see we have then here the third seating row folding, and then with these second row seats, you can see here they can move a little bit forward. It takes a while. So you can see here, this is the maximum normal forward position, and this is the entry version. So if you put it in the entry function, that would be the most forward it would go, but it cannot go down. As for engines, BMW cleared up the portfolio. This year, the 3-liter inline 6-cylinder is the worldwide bestseller. 3 out of 4 X7 are sold with this, and it has a reason. Acceleration figure less than 6 seconds, 380 horsepower, and it is actually the best, most suitable engine for this vehicle, even with a surprising good consumption. Later on more in the driving part. If you want to go more powerful, there's also the 4.4-liter V8. This one then with 530 horsepower and less than 5 seconds in the acceleration figure, but higher fuel consumption. And then there's also for some markets still the 3-liter 6-cylinder diesel. Welcome to Thomas's Driving Lounge, BMW X7 40i. Acceleration, let's go. Plop, that's 0 to 40 miles per hour, and that went pretty quick indeed. So nice performance. That's great sound here from the inline 6-cylinder. It does have a better sound here in the US because here you do not have to use the particle filter for petrol engines. Is that a good thing? Well, I mean, it has better consumption then, that's more efficient. However, there's also more particles coming out, so for breathing, the European regulation is better as for the particle filter. But the sound is worse then, and also, you know, there's less pressure in the whole, you know, manifold system and so on. So for the vehicle, it's better without. For breathing, of course, it's better with the particle filter. So that was actually quite nice, and it feels very smooth here also with the all-wheel drive rear wheel bias. In the sport mode, the throttle input is also a little more sensitive, and you might wonder, wait a minute, that's a big luxury SUV. Why are you starting with acceleration? And here, well, country roads, of course, because we have a Blue Ridge Mountain exterior, but also this is a BMW, and that's why we're starting with winding corners, because even in the luxury or big SUV segment, BMW is always stressing the sportiness and the fun of the vehicles, and this is indeed true. So we have a very natural steering feeling. The air suspension is also a little bit stiffer than in the sport mode, and it's a lot of fun to take these winding corners. However, here in the US we always have lower speed limits than we have in Europe, for example, so that's also having a big effect on the consumption. I'm soon going to talk about that. Let's first focus here on these winding corners. The car is not leaning at all to the side, especially in the sport mode. A lot of fun. And also in the sport mode, it gets some more aggressiveness to it. Let's take it that way. When you have the Executive Drive Pro, which is standard for the M60, also an optional for here, you not only get the standard air suspension, but also the rear axle steering, plus the anti-tilt control. We also have it built in here, and that really keeps the car straight and upright. And the rear axle steering at lower speeds, it also steers in the opposite direction than the front wheels, so making the car more agile. When you switch back to the comfort mode, everything is rather set in a more subtle, comfortable tone. Also the air suspension setup. Let's see if they mean we have changed that. You see, they have this, yeah.
Continue on the road for 8 miles.
No spoken instructions. That's interesting. Have you seen that? So, in our BMW iX review, for example, we did criticize it and also gave the feedback back to BMW that when you select the different driving modes, for example here then sport mode, then it sticks, you know, usually so far it would stick in this view. And then you have to go back to the GPS manual. But now, as it's supposed to be, it goes back to the GPS automatically. So this is another example where we are on the channel, we test the vehicles, the manufacturers also watch our videos, they read your comments, and by these videos and also gathering your feedback, we can really change how the vehicles are being developed, especially now in nowadays times where it's a lot more about the software, and these things here can easily be changed by the manufacturer later on. Here, I'm not sure if you can see that on the cameras, we have this illumination also in these side speakers here from the Bowers & Wilkins sound system, beautifully done. Also in the sport mode here, red illumination, And see here in the comfort mode, it switches back then to the color I picked before. Eco Pro mode also has different color, and see here how the animation goes there. That is a very nice new emotional feature, this additional ambient lighting we have right there, really cool. And I've picked in the, in most cases, I pick a blue color here because blue is my favorite color, Thomas Blue. So, but good thing they updated this one. And another thing they have updated, I always showed that to you earlier, that is the AC control. So yes, I can do it here, but when I go to the climate menu and I think like, I don't want the AC feature, like here, I can turn it off right now, even while driving, no problem. So if you just want the fresh air without the AC running, so just when you want to have the blower, the vents, maybe it's, not that hot outside and you don't need the AC function that also dries the air on the inside. I like to drive with vents on, but AC function off, because I want a little bit more humid air inside the vehicle. It's better for breathing. Okay, when you're like in the Carolinas, for example, it's really hot and humid outside anyway. Might not playing a big role when you're driving with the AC on feature anyway, but it's good that now we can also change that again. We didn't have that before. And once again I have to say, you rather stick in the comfort mode with this vehicle because it's still fun to drive, and is one of the rare cases indeed where you have a big vehicle and it still has this agile driving fun. What is really astonishing, of course, more winding corners here and there, but when I drove more straight and some highway and also city driving, the consumption here, when you're sticking it with a rather calm driving style, is astonishingly low. So I mean, that has no particle filter here, that's better for consumption. Then lower speeds here, more constant speeds, that's good. So in the US, I always consume less fuel than I would be driving in Europe. And they now also have the 48 volt board system, which is not the game changer as for consumption, but helps a little bit. And so I could score some 30 mpg here. It's like, what? Really? For this vehicle with the 3-liter 6-cylinder? That's at 8 liters in 100 kilometers, or even 35 mpg UK, so 30 mpg US. Most of the time, when you have also some mixed consumption and so on, even 24 mpg US is a realistic figure. That's like 28 mpg UK, or like 10 liters on 100 kilometers for European roads. That's still decent, If you go for the 8-cylinder, then you have to calculate with about 2 to 3 liters more on 1 kilometers or on 60 miles, and you'll end up probably even less than 20 mpg. So there's a huge consumption difference then between the 6-cylinder and the 8-cylinder, and once again it stresses more, both from the agile feeling, from the weight feeling, and also from the consumption figures. The 6-cylinder is the 6-cylinder petrol is the right engine, both for X5 and X7, and of course also for the for X5, X6 and X7, so for all the, well, I think also for the X3 and the X4. Anyway, it's the BMW engine, and astonishingly good fuel economy here. And this is the thing also why I think that this is a great luxury SUV, because it combines so many things. You now have the animal-free seats, which are super comfortable here while driving. Still, they're not, they're not like that you slide around too much. They also work very well here in these sporty corners. See this head area here in South Carolina, if you know that, maybe. Very beautiful area also with a nice viewpoint. So great fun and agile driving experience here with the X7 with that facelifted version. And seats are different now, something of the controls, and really good fuel economy also here. This of course not giving us the best economy when we do this, and it's also uphill. So there also the features go a little bit backwards. To select them, it's a little bit more complicated than before. Now we backed up a little bit, but when we're going downhill, we can also have some of the recuperation into that 48 volt board battery. It's not a complete hybrid system, it's a mild hybrid system, but it will help you a little bit, especially when there are some topography changes. So the X7, really good luxury experience, but indeed it holds also the BMW brand purpose, that it's still fun to drive. here at 55 miles per hour, so around 100 kilometers an hour. And I have the assisted driving here activated, so that means I rest my hands on the steering wheel, but see here, I'm not steering at all at the moment. You can see here the bend is being followed in a very smooth way. No hectic movement from that steering wheel whatsoever. And there's also the automatic lane changing assist, and there we go. The car checks if the back is free. Of course, didn't make too much sense here for me to do it right now. I didn't check that the lane is ending here. So maybe the BMW behind me was wondering what the guy is doing there. There's a 7 Series behind me, by the way. But you see that the car did that on its own. You just have to tip the turning indicators, and then the car is also checking, is there someone next to you, is that possible, and it's doing that on its own. And you might think, is that really necessary? Well, necessarily maybe not exactly, but you know, it might be a very relaxing thing when you have the cruise control activated and the assisted driving activated, that you also use this feature then. And the good thing is that the integration of the whole assistance systems is really good and really smooth. You also have a blind spot monitor where you have this triangle then there in the side mirror, and everything is very convincing as for the assistance systems. That's, by the way, also an advantage for the new OS 8 operating system. By that upgrade, it also here gets all the latest driving assistance systems. BMW calls them FAS, FAS, from the German abbreviation for Fahrerassistenzsysteme. Listen and repeat. Fahrerassistenzsysteme, driver assistance systems. So you know, when you're a regular viewer, you know that here in Autogefühl, on our channel, you always get some German automotive words. Yeah, you know, like the famous Spaltmaße, like the panel gaps, you know, on the exterior, where you see like how's the build quality of the car. Listen and repeat. Spaltmaße. Yeah, that's the funny thing about the German language. We have some words that sound a little bit weird or awkward and really like hard. You know, my friends from the US, from the UK, they sometimes troll me and invent some German words because they sound like that for them. And you know, Serge, when you're watching this, greetings to you. He always says like Hotenheiner or Hotenschnoten, which is of course no German word that ever existed. But since when I'm talking German, obviously it sounds like that. So, and yeah, that's just a fun fact here aside. Some city driving here in Greenville. So good to test it also on US roads, where most of these cars are actually sold to. And one thing you do notice with this rework of this 48-volt board system, so here with the 6-cylinder has been there before, with the 8-cylinder just recently introduced, and it happens more often that actually the engine is turned off. Here, by the way, I always have to get used to it. In Germany, it's really rare that you can turn right on a red traffic light just with an extra sign. And of course, especially when you're from the US, as you know, you are allowed to turn right here at the red traffic light, always, basically, when you have come to a standstill and there's no one coming then. In Germany, just with an extra sign, then it's actually possible. So with this mild hybrid system, actually shuts off the engine, for example, when you're rolling towards a traffic light or when you're standing still at the traffic light, for example, you feel that this is happening more often. It's supposed to save fuel. Well, especially also on paper. If it's really saving fuel in real life, maybe a little bit, but it wouldn't be the biggest game changer. It makes sometimes the driving a little bit calmer because the engine then is shut off earlier, for example, and you have like something of a hybrid feeling, but not majorly. Let's take it that way. You might wonder, yeah, okay, but what about when the engine is being shut off more often and earlier and so on? Doesn't it harm anything? Doesn't it harm the engine? And BMW thought about this too, And so they did also rework of the engine parts and made certain parts, let's say, stronger and more resistant, that it reaches the same durability as before the 48-volt board system. And driving around in the city here in the US is indeed different from driving the X7 in Europe, because here the car doesn't feel off, you know, it doesn't feel as large when you drive it in Europe and you drive also into a European basement garage or something. You sometimes think, yeah, that's getting a little bit close and the car is maybe too long. Here in the US it's actually no problem. So yeah, it's no wonder that's 47% of X7 sales worldwide go to the US market overall. In Germany, for example, you would really rather go for an X5 to save the additional length. However, this one here equipped with the adaptive air suspension, that's as base, and optional, we also have it here in this vehicle, then the rear axle steering. And this is a really helpful feature. It fakes a shorter wheelbase because the rear wheels are turning in the opposite direction, and then you can also ease this car around in the parking lot or, for example, in the basement garage. So the car definitely also in the city feels more agile than it looks and gives you a very sophisticated comfort. How much comfort will you get at the end of the day also depends on the wheels. Here in this case, they're not the biggest but already large 22-inch wheels. It's perfectly fine for this vehicle. However, if you seek the most comfort with this vehicle, stick with the smallest wheels. If you want like more contact to the road, seek a sportier experience and don't care so much about the very fine, thin rolling comfort from the damping from the tires, then you would go for the 23-inch wheels where from the outside like, whoa, oh my gosh. But from a driving comfort perspective, and also when you think about some soft off-roading here with that one, then of course 23-inch wheels do not really make sense. What you really feel here when driving a city here now, just about 35 miles an hour, it's so calm. You don't really, like, you have cars here and there and maybe trucks passing and so on, and it's like, is anything happening at all in the outside world? It's like, nah, I'm just here in the vehicle, I don't hear anything from the outside. So that's really, really convincing. Together also with the new sensor fin seats here, the so far perforated sensor tech we've seen in the BMW 5 Series or the new BMW X3 facelift, or 5 Series facelift, X3 facelift, they were already really good. This one here a little bit finer, a little softer also, and it's very comfortable. And I mean, hey, when you're getting too hot, they can also be combined with the seat cooling. So it's already 78 degrees Fahrenheit here, so it's very pleasant temperatures on the outside. So we're going today into the 30s of Celsius as well, and you can just activate then the seat cooling here, and then you can also stay cool even though it's a slick surface here. So very good comfort factor. And I especially like here also while driving the normal steering wheel and not the M steering wheel, I think it just fits so much better to this vehicle to have the normal steering wheel, and also here with the brushed aluminum style at the buttons. That's awesome, and it just feels more symmetric, more fitting, more elegant to that whole vehicle. So I would definitely stick with that. Yeah, it gives you a very, very good luxury experience, this vehicle. Something, you know, I don't like that much, as I told you earlier, is the new OS 8 infotainment system. I really prefer the more simple OS 7, and also how it's integrated in the vehicle when you have this driving position from here. You know, I'm not sure if you can see it on that camera, but this curved function and how it's integrated here, it doesn't look straight, you know, it looks like it would be falling towards this side a little bit down, and I'm not sure if that's maybe a too German side of me, I don't know, but I like things, you know, that are like really like straight and in order, and, you know, more a Bauhaus design also on the interior, and not, you know, something that is off or something. Yeah, that's the thing. I also hate it when when you have cars that don't have like very straight steering, you know, so everything needs to look as it would be straight completely. You know, the road here is also, you know, a little bit to the right, but I'll also show it's kind of similar when I move it here to the other side. Yeah, so these are some maybe minor nuances, but overall the funny thing here about that vehicle is when you sit in the front, and also when you have some more narrow situations, then you do not feel the biggest difference to the X5 in driving, especially if you have here the rear axle steering. It just feels like a normal grown-up SUV, full-size SUV, without you think like, oh, that's maybe too big or something, especially when you're here on the US roads. And if you now think about some competitors which are more in the super high-end luxury segment, this is super high-end luxury, yes, but you know there are also brands when you think about Rolls-Royce, that's of course from the BMW Corporation, or Bentley, or you think about also maybe Lamborghini, Euros. Okay, some are more performance-oriented, but I'm just talking about super expensive SUVs. This one has the advantage that it still conveys a feeling of, hey, it's not over the top, you know? And that might be important for you when on the exterior you don't want to say like, hey, I'm the most exclusive person on earth and I really need to show that. It still has some elegance on the exterior. It has a lot of presence, but it doesn't have this over the top, I want to show everyone how super rich I am factor. Do you know what I mean? And that's also comes, becomes obvious here in the interior, you know. I did like the pre-facelift as for the climate knobs for the control, for example. If you leave it on auto climatization all the time, doesn't matter that much for you then anyway. But besides that, it still has, let's say, a known BMW feeling on the interior, and there are not so many things that are just done differently because to do something different, you know what I mean? And that's what happens sometimes with the super exclusive luxury brands, that you have things more complicated and just because to make it more unique, but not necessarily better. That's what I also like here about the X7. Switching to the V8 sport mode, let's do some acceleration, 0 to 55 miles an hour, and let's go. Plop, that's it. Whoa. Whew. That is 0 to 85 kilometers an hour. Really powerful, and of course, even better sound. Yeah, that V8 sound is really something. Once again, oh, it's like when I get off the throttle, blah, 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 from that exhaust, that's really, deactivate spoken instructions. There we go. Wow, that feels great. At the end of the day, it's just 1 second less in the acceleration figure than with the 6-cylinder. So of course you have to think about if that's worth it. Well, price-wise, of course not. There's a hefty extra price here for the M60i. It does give you some sporty extra feeling. The main difference is really sound and of course that little bit more boost, especially when you're in a sports mode. So when you are here in that sports mode, you know, I picked, then you feel the real difference. And you're like, oh, this is like almost a different vehicle, you know? And you have that extra punch, that more acceleration and that sound. However, if you are in the comfort mode and just rolling, we also had now comparable 22-inch wheels. We had the same rear axle steering with the anti-tilt control, which is standard here for the M60i, optional for the other ones. Here then in the normal comfort mode, you might think like, well, is there any difference or something? Does it really make sense? So as long as you're rather driving calm, rolling and stuff, and comfort mode, then you would say like, I have no idea what that V8 is for actually. But as soon as you apply the sports mode, it becomes a machine indeed, and you've just experienced that. Other than that, we have the M Sport steering wheel here, which is also okay, of course, but I somehow prefer the base steering wheel. That's maybe just a very subjective thing. I just get along with it better. This one here is a little bit thicker, and the other one just pleases me more. I also like the the matte aluminum buttons here, prefer them over the black buttons here, for example. We also have the same sensor fin seats in here. You could also get these M Super Sport seats for them. They are only available with animal skin, and they are also in a way sportier style. I don't really think that would fit to an X7 because the comfort is still the focus. Very interesting, by the way, if we take a look at the fuel economy. And yeah, in the OS 7 system, you could pick that here in a left menu. Here now we have to go there, then to live vehicle, and then switch to the values on the content if you haven't done so far. And here we're at 22 mpg. Like what? It's like, you know, like 28 mpg UK, so 22 mpg US, and like 10 liters on 100 kilometers. It's so efficient considering it's such a huge vehicle. And the V8, once again, when we had the best consumption value with the 6-cylinder, it wasn't like 8 liters on 100 kilometers, so 2 liters less, or then some 6 mpg more. So there is still a gap, yes, between 6 and 8-cylinder, but here once again, driving without the particle filter, 48-volt board net, next generation, helps with consumption, and also the rather steady and low speed you have here, you know, when I'm driving in the Carolinas here. So that helps in comparison to the consumption we have on European roads and German Autobahn and so on, where we drive faster and more traffic lights in the city and so on. But still, both vehicles, these inline 6 and V8, they obviously both moved down in consumption with this rework, so that's really astonishing. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have expected, you know, when we talk about these facelifts, always like, yeah, new headlamps and new colors in here, but really, the seats are way more sustainable. The car is more efficient now, so rarely seen that facelifts indeed improve sustainability and efficiency. That is, yeah, I wouldn't have thought of that before, so that is really, really good and surprising finding here for you today, definitely. So definitely the M60 also feels sportier, but especially, as I said, in that sports mode. So you have to be aware that you do pay then with more fuel and of course with the higher entry price. Visually, as I said earlier, looks of course more sinister. However, I feel that the classic look, classic elegance fits more to the X7, and at the same time, you do not have to go for the V8 here if you want to have it looking a little bit stronger. You can also stick with the 6-cylinder and then apply the visual package and like the extended shadow line and so on. So that would also be possible. Or go with the V8 and then de-pick the sporty look and have it more elegant again. So you have a lot of possible. Oh, this is a great road ahead, right? This looks amazing. Really, really nice. So, but the overall experience is then in most driving situations kind of similar. Once again, good job from the air suspension. The small bumps are even out, and also the waves you feel. The air suspension is not set in a tone where you have like this flying carpet feeling like you have with, for example, Mercedes GLE and Mercedes GLS. The GLS then the direct comparator with to the X7. So in the normal Mercedes models, they have set the air suspension in a softer note, which I also find quite nice. And also the Range Rover, for example, we also have a review of that. That one has also very, very soft air suspension. Here, they rather focused keep the air suspension in a sporty note. Not that it would become uncomfortable, but definitely Audi and BMW also in their luxury SUVs try to keep up the sportiness and the fun a little bit more. And that's always then a question of what you want. But I think here the compromise between comfort and sportiness is really, really good. This vehicle here, this huge SUV, indeed gives you both. And well, the most things, of course, exterior and interior with the facelift changes, driving experience, definitely with the better fuel economy, and also that the seat, especially the back part, is more comfortable. That also has an effect on the driving experience. Other than that, the question is, of course, about the infotainment system while driving. But I get used to it now a little bit still when I have some ideas like, I want to do this and that now while driving, you know, then I'm still faster with the old infotainment system. But very interesting once again to compare these engine versions both in one review. You should definitely check out our recent Range Rover review, one of the competitors of this one here. Or if you want to go BMW SUV and electric, there is the BMW iX, recently also tested as the comparable here M60.